Oh, how many times am I going to do this? Wow, look at me. How's that for professionalism? That oh my God. I've had a lot of chaos today. That's just, you know what? There's just something about the recording that is not amenable to starting the fucking music for the show. Rookie move right there. Rookie move. But that's okay. I can live with it. It's not my first rookie move on this show, and it won't be the last, I'm sure. Welcome. It is Mysterious Forces Live, and it is Saturday, April 6th. It is Saturday. Here locally in Phoenix, it is Pride weekend. They have it a little early here because it just gets too hot later. So I'm going to be going to the festivities downtown after this show. And I want to wish everyone out there, to whomever is appropriate, happy Pride Month. And it kind of goes into June as well, but I think April's more of a thing. So anyway, just want to say that to everyone. Tonight I have, technically, this is the second time he's been on the show, but you, the audience, have not seen it. I met this gentleman. His name is Jiggy. And I made him make contact in the desert last year, and we really hit it off, and I conducted an interview with him, and I had patched in something wrong on the audio end, and the end result of mine and his interview was that his voice was in one speaker and my voice was in another speaker, and neither one was stereo. And it's very distracting. And it really kind of pissed me off. And it was a great interview. And I hate it that went to waste. And maybe someday down the line, I'll look to repair that. I can probably drop those tracks in somewhere else and fix that at some point. But I've been too lazy to do that. But anyway, so I am going to have Jiggy on tonight. And he has a podcast. Him and his partner, Smoke King, they have a podcast that hails from Boston, Massachusetts, and they've gone out and they've done some paranormal investigations, not only around the Boston area, but in other places. And Jiggy has one of the most compelling personal stories that I've ever heard. And we're going to touch on that a little bit here. And we're also going to talk about their current projects. And just before I do that, I'm just going to pop in and take a look at the chat room and see who's here. Pursuing X, Sherry, hello, and Bug, hello. All right, so this will pick up. It's a Saturday night, right? So without further ado, please, I'd like to welcome to the show Jiggy and Smoke King from Boston. Hello, guys.
Hey, Natasha, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for having us on the show. This is awesome.
Yes, thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys. So how are you doing there in Boston? What's up?
Boston's great. Weather's changing, so we're really getting into our spring now. We're getting better weather and stuff. So it's actually kind of the beginning of our investigative season stuff when we start to go out and venture and look for new spots and kind of go back and revisit some old spots. But just try to keep it light and keep it fun. It just allows us, because our weather here with the winters are so brutal here at times, just the cold weather, the snow, the different things that can happen. It doesn't allow us a lot of time to actually go out there and investigate. So the spring and the summer is when you really see us go out and have a great time. And we're from here to Vermont, all over the map. As you said, you start see me in California and stuff. So we try to get to everywhere we can. We got some exciting stuff coming up this summer, actually.
That's cool. Yeah, I can't wait to hear about it. I know that for a lot of your viewers and for some people that know you, they know your backstory a little bit. But I was wondering if we could refresh for my audience, just touch on what your personal experience was and how that led to your interest in this field.
Okay. Well, it goes back from a child that's 7 years old. I actually met my grandfather, who had died way before I was born. He died, actually, my mother was a young girl. So that was the first paranormal experience I had. It wasn't anything I really thought about. I had an extremely paranormal life. I lived in haunted houses, and this can be verified by not just myself and my family, but friends, neighbors, random people used to come to our house. We had a big house. We used to keep boarders and stuff in the house. So there were always people in and out the house. So a lot of different people had these experiences. But So for the last 25 plus years, I own a private security firm. And through my work, I provide security for clubs, concerts, not so much clubs anymore. I don't really do the bouncing thing anymore, but personal protection, which is bodyguard work and stuff. I've traveled, different places. I've been all over the country, different places in the world and stuff through my work. What happened in 2003 was, I can't really just talk too much about the whole incident, but I ended up getting shot at work. And when I got shot, to be a bouncer, to be a bodyguard, to do the work that I did, your physical appearance, how you keep yourself, how you're able to move and stuff is very important. So there was a really extreme low because I took 2 shots to my right leg. And it did an extreme amount of damage. You've seen my right leg. I think I showed it to you, and it's got metal and stuff inside of it and everything. But basically, I was at a point where I really thought that everything they were telling me, my life wasn't going to be the same. So I had a near-death experience while I was in the hospital when this happened. And it didn't really seem, I honestly went home and attributed it to the medication and stuff because I had stuff in my system. I had never morphine, any hard drugs. I really didn't even smoke weed at the time, to be honest with you. I didn't even smoke marijuana back in this is in 2003. I hadn't smoked marijuana for almost a good 20 something years. So 3 years later, I was having I've always had migraine headaches. I've had them my whole life. It didn't seem abnormal. They're very debilitating. I still get them now. Like literally it happened to me Thursday night on the show. I had to cut the show short, but they're very debilitating. And I had that experience. And during this time period, I had a huge contract for a big group who was coming into town. I probably had like 70 guys working this event and everything. Trying to get the bodyguard work as well as securing the venue and everything in order. So I thought it was maybe stress. So I decided to take a day off. I go home, lay down, decide I'm going to get some sleep, whatever. And literally was in my house for probably 2 days before somebody actually came to check on me. And when the person came to check on me, they had to get the guy upstairs to come down to open the door to try to find, because I couldn't hear the door. I didn't hear anything. I pretty much locked myself in my room. I covered the bell so I couldn't hear the bell ring because I couldn't handle light. I couldn't handle sound, anything. And when they see me, they both stop like, oh my God. They look at me like, dude, you look like you had a stroke, like pretty much. And what it was this side of my face, the right side of my face had pretty much looked like I had a stroke. And this eye was closed, but it was also asymmetrical, which I didn't know. So this eye was looking at my other eye. It was in their abnormal position.
Oh, wow.
So my friend and me is like, you need to go to the hospital. I'm like, I'm not going. She's like, she made me go to the hospital. I go there and I just remember, they do all these tests. And the doctor finally said to me, well, you've had migraines your whole life. How come no one's ever done a CT scan? I was like, well, because I'm a big guy. It's an expensive write-up and most insurance didn't cover those back in the day because you're talking $20,000 to $25,000 for someone like me to get a proper CT scan, a full body scan and everything. So he said, well, we can do it. And I think we need to do one immediately. So I'm sitting in the room, they go and they do all this stuff and they do the CT scan, sitting in the room talking, I'm laughing. I'm just thinking they're going to come back and give me a shot of something, just tell me I got high blood pressure or hypertension and I can go home. And all of a sudden there's these doctors just sitting in front of me, like, a few of them. Oh, do you know what an aneurysm is? I'm like, no, fuck is an aneurysm? And they said, well, you have an aneurysm. And it's sitting on your right side, on your optic nerve, and it's basically pinching that nerve. It's causing all kinds of things to happen to your body right now. Your body is having mini strokes pretty much. And I'm like, okay, all right, cool. And they tell me all this stuff, and they tell me all this stuff that they do. And I simply looked at them, Tasha, and I just was like, okay, cool. I'm going home. And the doctor's like, you're what? I'm like, I'm going home. They're like, you can't go home. If you go home, you'll die. And I said to them, well, if I stay here, can I die? And they said, absolutely. I said, cool, I'm going home. So I did. I went home. And I could not fathom, or really my mind could not wrap its head around the stuff that I just couldn't. There was nothing about what they were saying to me that I understood. They're just telling me about death. They're literally telling you that death is imminent. So I went home and spent a couple of days talking to people and finally got convinced by like my family, even my hardcore, like, ghetto ass cousins was like, yo, if you don't go back to the hospital, we're going to come drag your ass to the hospital, that type shit. So went back to the hospital. They had it so they knew it was when I came back. They had put notes and everything like, make sure you take them upstairs, get them in immediately, get them relaxed and calm, because that's the most important thing. Because if he gets worked up, that was what usually causes the aneurysm to burst.
Right.
So I'm there, and I literally was in the hospital for 24 hours because they wanted to wait for this particular surgeon to come back. And his name is Dr. Ogilvy. And shout out to Dr. Ogilvy, because I've actually in the interim met somebody else who went through the same experience and had the same doctor, and we've become friends. But so in the morning, this is now a Tuesday morning because all this stuff started on like Thursday night. the doctor comes in, Dr. Ogilvy. He sees me first thing in the morning. He comes in, real nice guy, real calm. And he tells me I'm going to do what they call a simple clip and coil. Like, this is very routine. I've done thousands of things. You know, as long as your aneurysm doesn't burst, you're fine. We can take care of this. You'll be in and out. I just have a few people ahead of you because looking at you, you know, you don't look like anything. You know, you look like you're fine. I've heard you've been, you know, laughing and having a good time with everybody here. So I'll get to you at some point during the day. I'm like, cool, no problem. No sooner does he say that, I'll give it maybe 45 minutes to an hour after he leaves. Now, as I said earlier, I've been shot before, so I know what it feels like. It literally felt like somebody walked up to my head, to the right side of my head, took a 12-gauge shotgun and pulled the trigger.
Wow.
And it was the most extreme pain I'd ever felt in my life. I didn't know what to do. My body was convulsing. I had no control over anything. I couldn't speak. My body was, you know, seizing, but I couldn't move my hands to hit the button. But luckily, again, this is all probably synchronicities, but the guy next to me was a police officer, former police officer, retired police officer from my neighborhood. So he immediately knew I was in distress and pressed the button. The nurse comes in, and the gentleman who was a nurse, he came in, he immediately attaches me because it didn't have me hooked up to much because I was really in a cool, calm state. And he's wheeling me down the hallway. And as he's wheeling me down the hallway, I literally get maybe 60 seconds of clarity. And in that clarity, I just said to him, you know, when my sister gets here, you've got to take care of her, because when she gets here and I'm dead, you know, she's going to freak out. Like, I'm all she really has in this world. And he's like, no, I'm not going to let you die. You're not going to die. And I remember hearing like this nurse who was there, who was working the front desk, and she was West Indian. And she said with nice West Indian twang, like, you know, your blood clot boy, ain't nothing going to happen to you. Quit your blood clot crying. Like, you know, she's making jokes. And I'm hearing this and it's processing. But no sooner does that moment of clarity happen, that's when everything just goes out. Like, I'm gone. You know, there's no attached. There's nothing really going on with me here at all. And one of the things is, on all these years, I haven't even really looked at my medical records, which I will do, but my family and stuff were there. They will not tell me how long. I don't know how long I was in that hospital for out. I know when I woke up, and I was still in the hospital at least a month, maybe a month and a half after I woke up, but there was a series of days in between. But right before I woke up, I had the most profound experience that I've ever had in my life. And I've had a very adventurous life. So to have an experience like this, like, it really, really moved me. But it was simply a voice that I hadn't heard in a long time. It was somebody who was very important to me, who just simply said, Joseph, you'll be okay. Like, just relax. You're going to be fine. And people have asked me, you know, like, what happened when I was there? Like, well, you know, did you go to heaven? Was there a bright light? And I simply can only say that where I was at was more like a void. It's a place. I don't know if to me, maybe it's like the middle room or something. I don't know if that may be the halfway point after death. You got to check in somewhere or something. And maybe you need to have these experiences. I honestly feel like those experiences that people have in death and near death experiences are tailored to the individual. Whatever you kind of believe in life is kind of, I think, what you encounter first in death. And this is, again, just my personal experience, but there was no bright lights. There was more of a warm feeling right before I woke up, and very comforting feeling and stuff. But it wasn't like there was a tunnel and all this shit that people thought. I just didn't see all that. I just heard what I needed to hear. And then I woke up. And as I wake up, I'm just looking around the room with my one eye, and I'm like, all right, like, is this fucking, you know, am I in hell, heaven? Is this death? Is death continuation of your life? You know what I mean? Is it just that you continue however long you want to continue at that point? I don't know. Because to this day, Tasha, I've said this to you, and I've said this, if you go back and listen to the podcast for a long time, I don't even know that I'm me from here. So I feel like I could be me from somehow another dimension or something very similar to this. And my sisters have said this, family members. There's a lot of, and naturally you're going to lose memory. There's definitely memory I've lost. Smokey always says, wake up. But there's this thing.
He's still in a coma. He's dreaming. We're all a dream. We're all part of
I do believe that. I know that sounds horrible, because when you say that, people say, well, you're belittling other people, but that's not what it is. They say when you dream and stuff that there's no strangers in your dream, that your dreams are based on people that you've encountered every day throughout your life, and that your brain, because it's a supercomputer, is taking stock of this. And in taking stock of that, it's got stock photos of people that you encounter all day that are in your peripheral that it picks up, but you don't necessarily cognitively pick up. So maybe I've encountered all of you throughout my life, and this is just a, I don't know. It's been one of the things that has really baffled me. There's no answers. And in the beginning, I'll tell you, I've reached out to Eben Alexander. I've reached out to a whole lot of, you know, people in this field who are supposed to be specialists and experts and talk all this stuff, but I've never been able to really put that piece together. So I don't really know if I could just be me and I just came back and I'm just fucked up from all this shit. I don't know, but
Well, if this is your dream, I'd like to be rich, please.
you want to be rich? My dream. I want to be a wealthy. It's not working out for me. I want to go to Mars. Like if it's my dream, I should go to Mars right now and not on some rocket ship.
Can I just get a little cabin in the woods?
So Smoke King, how did you get into all this? What path led you here to this point?
Well, I've experienced paranormal type things, off and on throughout my whole entire life. My first big thing was I was about 12 years old and I saw a UFO. Now, I don't know if there was aliens or anything on it. It's crackling.
That's just probably the headphones because they're split off. That's all. They don't hear that.
Sorry about that. So I saw a UFO out the window of my room, and it just came down on the hilltop because my room looked out and there's a hill there, and it came down these lights and it just landed, and it was there, and I was like, did I really just see that? And I was like, should I get up and go and tell somebody? And I was like, no, they're gonna yell at me and say, go back to bed. You gotta go to school, whatever. So I just kind of laid there and I was just looking out the window, like, okay. And maybe 5-10 minutes went by. It all of a sudden rises up and it's just hovering above the tree line there. And I got up and I'm looking out the window and it's hovering there, and it just took off and it was gone. And I was like, wow, that was crazy. So then I was talking to people the next day in school, and they're like, oh yeah, it could have been aliens and stuff like that. So I kind of got into, sci-fi, that and stuff. And then it just off and on, I've had things, after I lived with my grandparents, and after they passed away, some strange things happened in the house. I was my room was downstairs in the basement and everything. And there was only one light switch to turn on the lights to go downstairs. And I would turn it on and I couldn't go back up the stairs and then go back. That'd be dark, So I'd turn it on. I'd leave it on. My grandmother would get up because she hated the lights on. She would always shut it off. So she had already passed. It'd been about 4 or 5 months since she passed. And I'm downstairs and I'm just hanging out downstairs and nobody's home. Nobody's home in the house. I'm home all alone, just downstairs. All of a sudden the light shuts off. And I'm like, the heck shut the light off? Because I could see my door and it just, boom, you hear the click of the light switch. You're like, I literally heard the light. So I get up and I go and look, and I'm like, I go up the stairs and I'm like, the light switch is off. And I'm like, I'm like, hey mom, you home? I'm asking if anybody's home, looking around, nobody's home. I go back and I'm like, who the heck just shut off the light switch? So that happened. Then there was another time when I was again at home downstairs, nobody else was home. And all of a sudden the heat turns on. My grandfather would get up and turn the heat on, and then my grandmother would get up and turn it off. The old thing. Yeah. It's really not. It's really true. The old people really fight over the heat for some reason.
Oh yeah.
So I'm down there and the heat turns on, and then I'm like, who's turning the heat on now? Because it's springtime like it is now. Nobody should be turning on the heat. I'm like, nobody's home, and then it shuts off like 2 minutes later, and I'm like, so I get up, nobody's home again. So things like that have happened to me and stuff. We've, off and on throughout my life, those are some of the bigger things, had experiences, when we were on investigations, I've had psychedelic experiences and stuff like that where you see things, all kinds of stuff. I'm just anything the unknown. I just want to get to the bottom of it and know the truth. What's going on?
So how did the two of you meet up and start working together?
Right here, this right here. pretty much. We met through smoking and stuff. Pretty much at a party one time, and I got him higher than he's ever been in his life. So,
and I couldn't shut up, of course. It's just
nice.
Once you start talking to it with your friends and stuff like that, I think anyway, that's the thing with the paranormal. That in most settings, people aren't naturally going to have a conversation like, "Oh, I believe in ghosts," or "I had a ghost." Now, someone might walk in and be like, "Oh, you'll never believe what happened to me yesterday or today or earlier today." But rarely do you have someone that's going to sit down and have those conversations. And that's kind of how Paranormal Hood got started. Like listening to Coast to Coast, because I found Coast to Coast AM years ago. I was doing bodyguard work actually, and walked into this gas station, and everybody in this gas station is so captivated by something. I'm thinking like there's a war or something. Like I'm waiting for the president to be like, "All right, this just happened," but they're like, "Nah, we'll listen to Coast AM," and you hear George Norrie and stuff. So with that, I found a community and found that there were other people who had these experiences that I had. Because where I come from, like, people never talked about this stuff. They always just kind of like, let it be. Like, something's there, let sleeping dogs lie, as they would say. If it ain't fucking with you, don't fuck with it. Things like that, where just kind of let it be the status quo. Yeah, it's abnormal, but is it really bothering you? And if you mess with it, it's going to bother with you. So that's kind of how I grew up. So when I found this community, I was like, how do you, one, get to talk to people who are like me and a lot of folks who don't really normally talk about it? How do you put them in a setting and give them the ability to talk about things that they're kind of scared to talk about?
No, I get that. And I think the community is split a little bit. There's kind of like this mainstream element of the community, which I would attribute towards the coast to coast end of things and Gaia TV. And then there's kind of this newer, kind of more raw, but in my opinion, more real kind of underground. It's kind of like what alternative bands were to mainstream bands in the 80s or something. Like, there's a group of us who are podcasters, and I would kind of include you in there with this group of people who are doing a different kind of truth, a different kind of exploration, and with a completely different kind of sensibility that has nothing to do with mainstream media. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's really important. I think that the problem is that the market is saturated with everything that's the same. It's been like that. Like I said, I'm a fan. I paid my coast to coast insider fees and all that type of stuff, listened for years and everything. I still have my radio at home. I don't even remember the name of the damn radio that they would push and stuff, and I buy little products and everything. But I found that it's stagnant. Not necessarily that show, but just most of the mainstream end of the field. That it's the same people at the same events, on the same podcast, all with the same voice. And they're all speaking in unison, and they're all like walking like robots and spewing out this. And then some of it differs, but I just don't get it anymore. I just think that there needs to be, you need to have real talk about this. You need to have a real conversation, because somebody puts on a suit and tie and is very articulate. And this is something that kills me, Natasha. All this traveling I've done over the years, and I tell people this all the time, I'm not a Monday morning quarterback. You've seen me at events. That's how we met. I'm at events all the time. This is what I've been doing for years. Paranormal, now the merge of the ufology and the conscious community, all this stuff. I've been going to all these events for years. And I've just watched the same people saying the same stuff. And there's still no proof. When you follow a lot of these people for 20 years, 15 years, who've been telling you, wait on this, this is going to happen, this is coming.
Right.
It does not come. It does not happen. And I don't get it. And then they regurgitate stuff. You have people like Bob Lazar, who pops back in after 30 years with nothing new. Just give us the 151 at least. If you have element 151, like you say you have, put that shit on the table in a huge press conference where in front of everybody, so no one's going to wipe you out there. These people all talk about their fears of dying and who's after them and stuff like that. Yet they're all over TV. They're all over YouTube. They're all over social media. They're not hard to find. I've stood next to these people. They're not hard to find. They walk around with security, all this type of stuff. It's like you're making yourself targets and you're making yourself, but yet nothing ever happens.
Right.
So I just felt the need to create a space, and then obviously meet up with someone like you, and then you hit me to CW Chanter and different people who would just not, it's not about calling people out. I think people have the wrong misconception about a lot of stuff that gets talked about. They feel like it's just like, oh, you're just calling everybody out. You're just calling people out. It's not necessarily even calling the people, it's the stories.
Well, those people are just calling out a bunch of people for no reason. They're just making up stories about stuff and talking about things that are just complete nonsense most of the time. So somebody's got to speak up and say, hey, enough of the bullshit. All right. We know what you're talking about is bullshit, and who you're talking about, that's not really what it's just a made up story and everything, like the Corey Goods and the Emery Smiths, all these people with these fantastical stories, like I'm a time traveler and I'm in space and stuff.
I've been age regressed.
And they're like trying to tell you what it's like on these spaceships, and like, yeah, and you go in these rooms and they got like, the walls are white and it's drop ceilings. I'm like, drop ceilings on a spaceship? Are you serious? And people are like, oh, wow, I can't believe it. I'm like, really? You're flying through space, going through the galaxy, and they got drop ceiling space, and you thought that was cool and impressive and everything. Like, I'm like, really? That's what they got? And just stuff like that. And it's like, how can you people still listen? And people are like, I love you. Tell me more. And it's just so we after all these years and then investigating what these people are talking about and finding that it's bullshit. we just finally like, all right, we're not just going to sit back and listen to it anymore. And we're not just going to be like most of these people who are like, oh, well, we don't have anything new or anything. So we'll keep regurgitating, we'll make up some new fantastical story for everybody to buy for a little while until they find out it's bullshit or whatever. We just have to start calling it,
Right.
But, I mean,
right. No, I totally agree.
Like bullshit. You like bullshit?
No, not at all.
No.
You're gonna call out so nobody else steps in it, right? You see you walking down the street and you see some shit on the street, you're gonna be like, hey, everybody look out for that bullshit right there, or that dog shit or whatever.
But it's more than that too. It just gets to a point where you've heard these stories for so long, you just want to see something happen, like something like I've had my ghost experience. Now I've seen UFOs, but that doesn't mean I saw aliens. I just saw unidentified flying object that I couldn't identify. It doesn't make it aliens. An alien hasn't walked up to me and been like, I'm an alien. Here's a ray gun. There's my ship or whatever. Let me prove you I'm an alien. You want to go fucking see the earth and space or whatever and prove it? It just hasn't happened. And most of these people,
believe it could happen sometime, some point. I just don't believe it has happened, because most of these, again, when you listen to these stories and you look at what they're saying and the facts of everything between all the, for a wide variety, not just the mainstream people, a lot of these people, little abduction stories, when you start to listen to it, the human mind, the way it works and stuff, we come up with fantastical stories. We're storytelling creatures. We're also story listeners. We love to listen to stories. Look at the entertainment industry. This is the biggest industry in the world because we love stories. We love to hear that. We love to be entertained, but we also like to entertain people. So when we don't understand something that happened or whatever, we kind of just make up a story to explain it, and then everybody goes along with it a lot of times.
Right.
So
is there anyone out there that you believe is credible? Like I, for instance, think that Travis Walton is credible. I've said so on the show. I've had him on the show. To me, he's an exception.
Yeah, I would say him. But there's not a lot of mainstream. We've talked to some people and stuff like that. I can't really just like put out names and stuff. I don't know what the names out there. That you talk to them, they seem like it's a genuine story. They're more real, but they're not. Then there's a lot of them. You talk to them, you're like,
yeah,
okay, sure, yeah, that's possible. It's possible. It could be, but you know what I mean. And then that's the other thing with a lot of stuff. How are you going to prove some of these experiences and stuff like that? But again, when you listen to some people, you can tell somebody that's just being, they're genuine with what they're saying. And so they, most likely telling the truth as to what had happened to him, in the case with like Travis Walton and everything like that. We'll just use his name as that. But then you can tell the other people when they're sitting there and it looks like they're reading off cue cards or whatever, or they're reciting a story that they've had to remember over and over and again. They're not just recalling memories, they're recalling a story. So you can kind of get that. And as being investigators and researchers and stuff, you pick up on these cues of people.
Just watch them. Just spend time around them too. Be in their presence.
You're just being a people watcher, listening, watching, and you start to see and pick up and weed through all the stuff. See that a lot of the stories are all fantastical sci-fi stories. That's all they are. And if they were marketed as that, it'd be great. But as you're marketing it as it's true,
take that shit to Hollywood. Exactly.
Take it to Hollywood, mate. You can make way more money probably. Some of these stories are fantastic.
I'd love to see him as movies. I'd like to see some blue avians in a fucking movie. Well, I have actually. I'm sorry, I've seen them in comic books, but okay.
Yeah. No, so in terms of go ahead.
No, because this KB had just said something in the room, and I want to point this out because this is something that's very, very important to me. And he was talking about like CW, and maybe even people think that we call people out, whatever, because they're victimizing people, whatever. I don't think that there's any victims in this. I really don't. Unless you're someone who just isn't of mental capability to not being taken advantage of. If grown folks are falling for this stuff or giving their money or doing whatever they want to do, they're doing it willfully. It's because humans the condition we have where we're so concerned with death. We're so concerned with the future. We're so concerned with something being bigger and better than we are that's going to come down here and save us and make us extraordinary, something that we are already. I just don't get that. So I don't think that there's victims in this. I think that most of these people just willfully, it's the same thing with some religions. I'm not calling out any religion, because whatever you want to believe in it. That's why I don't think there's victims. But if you think I'm going to sit here and not talk about some of the stupid shit that I hear, absolutely I am. That's what we do. Some of it is just, it doesn't make any sense. I've read plenty of comic books and seen plenty of sci-fi movies. That's all it reads like. And religion. I've been involved in religion most of my life, and that's all it reads like. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I like the morals and ethics that run throughout the Lord of the Rings, you know. But that it's a simplistic kind of morality, and that the good guys say, "Hey, I am the good guy," and the bad guys stand up and say, "I'm the bad guy." Like, you know who's who, and you know, the kind of stories they capture my imagination, but it doesn't have much to do with real life and how things play out in real life. And speaking of real life, so on the positive spin on this, what is the focus of Paranormal Hood? Are you focused on a certain set of topics or issues that you like to talk about? And how does that work with the on location stuff that you've been doing?
Well, our motto, first of all, is everything is paranormal. So nothing is off limits to really talk about or to engage in. We're not really so much politics, though. We're not really
politics is getting really paranormal and strange and out there now.
Space stars coming.
It does come into
space bars, QAnon and all that shit. But
we try not to get too involved with it. But I mean, you know, it's hard to stay away from politics because there is a lot of conspiracies tied into it, you know, with all these things that are paranormal and everything. So it comes up, but
we focus on all of it, even on locations, from urban exploration to obviously paranormal investigating to Bigfoot. We may have had a Bigfoot encounter. See, we just don't go around saying it was Bigfoot, but it was just something that happened to us. Of course, the one time, because we jumped out the car, the cameras weren't rolling. So, but everybody heard it.
I'm sorry. That was fucking Bigfoot.
That was Bigfoot. Right. That's Wiz. That's our tech guy. He's in the back.
Tech guy, camera guy. He just stopped there. But yeah, when we're going out, look for place, we don't want to be going to the places where everybody's gone, like around here, you know, go Lizzie Porter's house or the Danvers State Hospital, all these places that everybody's gone to. We want to go places nobody's gone to and stuff, places where people might not even think that they're haunted or could be paranormal, just see what is happening there and everything.
Didn't you guys gain access to a former government facility?
Yes.
I'm tiptoeing around it. And I saw that episode, and that was really interesting. And I liked it that you guys were somewhere different, a little bit off the grid.
Yeah, and it's the funny thing too was it was more of an urban exploration for us thing, but then we decided to actually investigate the place. And it's interesting, and not to push it, but so one of the things also we do is we are a part of Vidi Space, which is Nick Roth and Elizabeth Saints. That's their production, and they take with it. Episode 1 is already up, and you'll actually watch it on Amazon Prime. But episode 2 will actually be at that facility, at that place, so you'll get more of a better look at it. And we actually went back and investigated and filmed an investigation.
Technically, the first episode is a government type facility. It's a state forest, and where we were was in this area where we weren't supposed to technically be there, but the police in the area were like,
cool.
Yeah, you can go and
they started telling us where to go. Remember, they were like, no, go down here and stuff. Yeah,
everything. So
got it.
The places where, you know, technically government places, you know, stuff, but you know,
because we have
the new episode is definitely in a government type place. And that's coming out soon. We can't say too much about what happened during the episode and what it is, but y'all can go and watch it.
Especially if you have Amazon Prime. Just go to Amazon Prime Video, type in Paranormal Hood. Episode 1's already up there. And 99% of people have Prime nowadays. So
how'd you get on Amazon Prime? How did that production deal happen for you? Tell the audience a little bit about that, if there's anything to tell.
So Nick Roth has been an extreme friend to the show, and I will say that since like almost like the summation of like the podcast and everything, he came. Him and I actually did an interview about the Boston bombings in my security background, and because I'm from the neighborhood, literally where the Boston bombings happened, a few blocks away from there, went to school, everything there. Had my business office above where one of the bombs went off years ago. So they had me on as an expert. Him and I linked up. He's been on the show, and he just really took an interest in what we were doing, and he was trying to get us deals, and we got offered a bunch of stuff, and a whole lot of shit happened. But mainstream, again, this is the same reason how we talk on our podcast, and we smoke, and we want to use profanity and just be real and not edited and all over edited, because some of the stuff you have to edit for time, but not just a bunch of people trying to manipulate what goes on when we're out there filming. So they decided to create a whole space called Vidi Space, where there's a bunch of different shows, different things that are going on there, from music to documentaries and anything. We're just part of that. And with that, they give us the freedom to be ourselves. So you do see us smoke marijuana and stuff. Sometimes you might see us on psychedelics doing, because every investigation is different. We're not going out looking for ghosts on psychedelics, but say more like in a setting where we would do the way we investigate, because we've done some psychedelic investigations that were kind of cool. And we were trying to see if on film we could be able to recreate the stuff that happens, and if it would be caught on film, would be awesome. So when so Nick is that's what his Vidi Space, and like I said, Nick has just been a great friend to us.
Yeah, and so through Vidi Space, they have a deal with Amazon Prime because they're a production company and stuff. So they get it. We can get put up through Amazon Prime.
Wow.
On Prime
No,
Video.
that's cool. That's cool.
So anybody with Prime subscription with Prime Video, you can go and watch the shows. If not, I forget if you don't have Prime, how much it is to just to download. It's like $1, I think, an episode, $1.99 or something for each episode. Don't have if you're not a Prime member to watch the episodes.
So do you have any new investigations coming up or locations that you plan on checking out?
Yeah, actually this summer, but we just can't even talk about it because we just got access to a really cool place in another state, and so. Yeah, we just can't talk about it, but there'll be some cool, you'll be able to see all this stuff. We just can't really talk about it because we have a lot of, everybody talks about insiders. We have outsiders, as we call them. They're not hiding. These are all professionals and stuff. And we communicate with people, but they actually, through my work and stuff, I've met a lot of people who are able to facilitate certain things and make phone calls and stuff. And, and then some people just come to us like, cool. Like, hey, you guys should check this place out. So you'll just see a lot of this stuff. Contact in the Desert. I'll be at Contact in the Desert, and we're trying to do something out at the Joshua Tree too, and possibly.
Yeah, you and I talked about maybe meeting up there.
Yeah, so different things, but like I said, you won't just see ghosts. You won't just see us running around trying to look at UFOs and stuff. It's going to be all kinds of stuff, and you're just going to see different levels of investigating. As we say, everything is paranormal. It kind of started with ghosts and everything, because again, when I found the paranormal community, that was what was prevalent at the time. But it's expanded so much and it's crossed over in other communities. And it's just, why not do everything that we can possibly do that we deem to be paranormal and investigate it however we can?
No, that's cool. So let's see. You can't really talk about some of the locations you're going to go to. Do you have any guests that are coming up that you have booked that you can talk about? Or because I know sometimes you've had some famous musicians on and folks outside, the quote unquote paranormal field. Do you have any of those types of guests lined up for later in the year?
We kind of just wing it, to be honest with you. We're not really a guest driven show. We just have some cool friends. Like you said, we've had astrophysicists, all kinds of different people on the show.
Okay.
But it's just more, we talk to people, and then there is somebody who should be coming on soon. So I just want to make sure he comes on before I announce it. But there are some people who definitely, and you'll be up in the studio soon with us, so folks know that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Towards the end
of the month.
So
yeah,
it'd be great to have you in the studio. I was talking to SOTOV. They're one of the music groups. They do our theme song, the Paranormal Hood theme song there, and we probably have them back on because it's been a while since those guys have been on. We love having those guys on there. Sometime soon. So
just trying to find guests who have something to say, Natasha. It's like it'd be easy to just get all these people on, and I'd rather have people who have something to talk about.
Not the normal people that you hear all the time either. Like we've had John D'Souza on and stuff like that. So all these people.
Billy Carson's been on the show.
Carson and they just talk about the same.
John B. Wells has actually been on Paranormal Hood.
John B. Wells.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
He's been on.
I'll tell you why, because I reached out to him. Yeah. I told him that was the first person I heard that was on Coast to Coast that night. And that's what turned me on to it. And I actually, funny enough, was investigating, come on, brain. Give me a second of the name of the place will come to me. But we were doing an EVP session. I don't know if you know what that is.
I do, yeah.
Phenomenon. And we kept picking up this EVP, and someone in the room was like, "Oh my God, that's like a ghost." I was like, "That's John B. Wells." Because we were doing it on an AM sweep on a SB, what is it, the Spirit box, I think it's a SB12 or something. So you would sweep AM FM. So when it was on AM, it kept picking up his voice, and they thought it was the EVP. And I was like, that's John B. Wells. That's Coast to Coast AM. We're picking up as an EVP, which was just funny. But I was like, it's not an EVP. Clearly, it's just picking up his voice on the radio station. But yeah, he's been on here. So it was actually cool. But again, just try to find guests. I don't even have a problem, and I've said this openly with the people who we've called out coming on the show. You can defend yourself. It's not a pissing contest. It's not going to be like a one-sided conversation. We bash, and we've never ever done that. We've had people on who we just like, okay, we don't really know much about this person, but let's hear what they have to say.
I just got a lot of questions,
right?
Because you're talking a lot of stuff, but it's very vague and everything. So I want some questions. I want some more than what you got. And I have some questions about what you call evidence too. So I would gladly have these people on the show and have a debate with them or a conversation with them.
Especially when these people use so much secondhand information, and I've got insiders, and this person told me, and this is the thing, and you've been claiming you've been doing this shit since the 90s, and all these years, not one of those insiders said, yo, you know what? Fuck it. Come with me. I'm gonna show you some shit. And then you can really go back and talk to people about it
with some video of it,
something like just
some these people talking. Oh, I've been to Mars and stuff. Goes to Mars, forgets a camera.
Right.
Bring back Mars rock, Mars dust, nothing.
Nothing. Didn't bring nothing back.
No artifact, nothing to prove that you were on Mars. Nothing.
My favorite is the ones that are like, oh yeah, I feel bad. I put information out there that have gotten people hurt and killed and stuff before, and I'm like, and people still come to you and give you information, and people still believe that people are coming to you and giving information. Like, and my thing is, why did they come to you and give you information in the first place?
Right.
Exactly.
No.
They're like, oh,
why that guy? Like, you look at some people like, why that guy? Because he's a good storyteller. It sounds real great, but come on, didn't no one contact him? Did none of that shit happen? And most of these people, you get around them in person, and you're just like, yeah, no. So you think that people want to kill you, but I'm some random black dude. You should see the scars and shit that I have on me, and I can walk up next to you and sit next to you like nothing's wrong. Not when you're at speaking, like when you're in a bar or something, and you don't think anything might be wrong with me. You're not looking around. You got all the security. These dudes walk around with security and stuff and shit. Natasha, I've done security for 25 plus years. I'm a bodyguard. I still bodyguard people. There's just certain ways you act, there's certain things you do. And you would not put a huge target on your back walking around an event. First of all, where you use a fucking glamour shot pictures from the 90s that you don't look like anymore. So no one knows it's you anyways. And the only reason they know it's you is because you walk around with a bunch of security, and people are like, why? Who's this guy walking around with security? When you see someone walking around with bodyguard security, exactly.
And whatever.
It's all pomp and circumstance, but yet after all these years, there's no tangible evidence. You're still talking about other people's stuff. You can attribute some of this new technology to stuff that I've been telling people and stuff over the years. Then you should be wealthy. You shouldn't be talking about you're broke and all this type of stuff. None of it makes any sense. And if you had all this information,
what happened is they read a little article on a thing when the technology was first coming out, and it didn't make it out there because it was whatever. And now it's out there, so they're like, "Look, I knew this years ago." Because you can go back and you can find that's what I do. That's what I do in my research and stuff. I'll go back and I'll look through, and I'll be like, "Okay, so you're talking about this technology, and you thought you knew it was coming," and then I'll go back and I'll find an article from before when he said he knew it was coming or whatever, that it was coming out or what.
Shit,
that's part of research. That's part of investigation. But people will just sit there and listen to these people and be like, "Oh yeah, I believe them," and not be like, that's interesting. Let me go back and check on that. They don't do that. They just like, oh yeah, give me more. Where I'm like, okay, yeah, keep talking, dude. And I'm over here. I'll have a phone. I got tablets. I got a computer in front of me. I'll be searching all kinds of stuff as these people are talking. I'll be like, yep, you're full of shit because I got it right here.
Bullshit.
Are there researchers that you do respect?
Yes, absolutely. There are a ton of researchers. There are people we respect them. They make sense. They're talking about stuff that is more equated to human beings first, because I think that's the biggest problem, that everybody wants to claim everything is alien, everything is some builder race that came from someplace else, without acknowledging how incredible we are. And the push towards AI, the push towards virtual reality stuff, people don't realize that we are being pushed away from the beauty of being an individual human being. What we can accomplish, not as just individuals, but then we come together. We can do all the stuff that we've seen, the pyramids and more, were most likely built by us. That there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of existence of us.
All the evidence points to, but people will add in these fantasy stories that came up in the early 1900s and everything, and attributing all this stuff to aliens, and in the mid 1900s, you know, in the 60s and stuff. All of a sudden, all this stuff became attributed to aliens. And it's like, wait a minute, we have facts on this stuff. We have knowledge. We know how most of this stuff was done, and then we can pretty much figure out the rest of it. These people weren't dumb. You know what I mean? Why would aliens come here and build with rocks when they just flew here on? Obviously, it's got to be special kind of metal, spaceships and everything. They had to have been living here, but we can only find stone huts and traces of wooden buildings and stuff. So they came here and they didn't do anything. They didn't make any magical stuff. There's no trace, none of that left. You know, of course, people be like, oh, well, the government has all that. Oh, cool. Where do they hide that? In the warehouse at the post office? The National Library? You know what I mean? Like all that stuff, they find it. The government's got it, you know, all the time. And it's like, when you look into it and you're like, nah, I don't think so.
You and I have touched on this topic a couple of times where you thought that this emphasis on the alien, quote unquote, theory of some of these ancient structures and ancient architecture really is kind of an extension, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm misspeaking, tell me, but it's kind of an extension of kind of like maybe biased or bigoted thinking in the sense that this denies the credit of the intelligence, innovation, and wherewithal to do that kind of construction of ethnic peoples in ancient times.
I don't think it has to do with just the ethics of people. I think it just has to do with the fact that they don't want us to understand what we are capable of, that we didn't have to use slave forces, that we didn't have to use these incredible, all this shit that we have around us that we feel like we need to do things, that they were doing more with less. We have a friend like Coral Castle.
Doing with what they had at the time and everything. Right. This was what they had. They didn't have all that. And you look at us nowadays, and you look at everything we have now. Think 1,000 years in the future, and all of a sudden, one of these cities that here is buried, and they uncover it, and then they're going to be like, "Wow, look at all this stuff! How did they do this? They didn't have this technology. It must have been aliens." Is that what they're going to say? No, they're going to look into it and investigate it, and they're going to. It's just like us. We uncover something that's 1,000 years old. We don't know how they did it. We don't know what they were living like. But people automatically attribute it to aliens because they're like, oh, we couldn't do this and stuff. But then a lot of these people that sit there and say, oh, it's aliens because we couldn't have done this, we're not capable of doing all this stuff, we couldn't have all this technology with aliens, are the same people that are like, oh, peace and love, we're all one and we can do anything, we create our own realities and stuff, humans are so great, we're so powerful and stuff. Well, how come we need aliens to build pyramids, to build stack rocks on top of each other? We couldn't have done that without aliens.
Save us.
Us great, we're great and so great and powerful. The universe, we create the universe, and the universe is in us, and all this stuff. And they're preaching all this stuff, but then they're like, yeah, pyramids built by aliens because we weren't able to do it.
Yeah, and they just sit in the background, and they're supposed to keep coming to save us, and yet they never have. I mean, the shit that we've done, the shit we continue to do, they don't intervene.
It's repackaged religion. Instead of waiting for Jesus to come and save us, we're waiting for Blue Avians and anybody else, Arcturians and Nibiru's to come back, and the Anunnakians and stuff to come back and save us. So, they're all around us watching, but they can't do anything until the right time. Just like God can't do anything, and Jesus can't come back until the right time. It's all the same story. It's just all repackaged with new words and everything.
Still waiting for Jesus to come back.
And all these people are the same people that are like, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. No, you're just a new religion. It's just Christianity and stuff like that. You're just a new religion. Good night. Do
you think humanity could learn to be more cooperative together if we stopped thinking that someone or something was going to come along and save us, and realize that we can save ourselves, but the only way we can save ourselves is if we cooperate with each other and stop competing?
That's our big thing too, is that's what we're trying to push. We're like, just stop with the bullshit. Everybody come. We have the technology, we have the brilliance, the genius to fix this planet, to save this planet, for us all to come together. We are humans. We are great. We can create our own realities. Look at all the stuff we're already doing. We can make it even better.
If aliens are out here, that's most likely what they're waiting for. It's us
that's going to save us. Nobody's coming to save us. I believe there's aliens out there, but they're nowhere near us at this time or anything like that. They may have visited or flown by or something, but we're a speck of dust in the fucking universe. The universe is so massive that the average mind can't even comprehend how massive the universe is. No, what are all these aliens coming to Earth for? Oh, because Earth is so special. It's a special teaching school and all this stuff. Really? Cool. Prove it. Prove to me it's a school. Where's my teachers? We're our own teachers. The universe gives us life. Oh no, that's life. It's called life. There's no magical things up there making all that stuff happen. This is the way it is and everything.
And even if they are there, they probably are waiting for us to show some kind of unity. It just doesn't make sense that they want to. We see ourselves for what we are. If we are just like a big reality TV show for other aliens who are out there or whatever watching us, they're probably watching us like, what the fuck is wrong with
they're
them?
not even worth saving.
Right, exactly. Like they don't care about themselves. Why should we go intervene? Why should we help them? Why would we want to go down there and get caught up in their shit? You know,
do you think part of this angst is that there are some of us who are alive who see life as a continuing set of opportunities, and what we really largely see on a mass scale is that we see lives of continual wasted opportunities where people just kind of conform. And I don't want to knock a good work ethic. I grew up in the Midwest with a good work ethic, but I can't imagine working 40 years at a factory, putting the widgets together and, just waiting for the pension and going to the mall on the weekends. And you know what I mean? Like
waiting to travel.
I cannot imagine that life at all. There's no way I can imagine ever conforming to that kind of lifestyle.
It's not normal. That's indoctrination.
That's
part
exactly
of the
what
stuff.
That is. That's like there is. See, a lot of the conspiracy theories and stuff like that, we really believe like there is a group of people in this planet that are in control of pretty much everything. And they're sadistic, evil fucks. They're not aliens. They're not fucking all these fucking reptilians and fucking all these fucking stupid things that people say that they have no proof to back it up. The only thing I see is evil people. People are capable of doing some evil, fucked up shit. And there's some people, and again, it comes back to bloodlines. You can trace all this back. This stuff is all stuff that you can come with evidence as. It's pretty much fact that this stuff is real, that it's happening. This is some of the stuff that we support and believe in because you can back this up with a lot of evidence. You know what I mean? So it's just you got to kind of that's the stuff that we look at, and you can see that there's a whole story and there's a whole narrative and a push to get to people to do certain things and to be slaves. We're basically slaves. We're all fuck. I call us free range cattle. We can go here and go there and go this, but we have restrictions and rules and stuff like that. And borders. Now we're going to have walls up and everything like that. You know what I mean? You have to have a passport to get permission to go outside of the country. They're tracking you everywhere you go. All that stuff is real. That's all real. They want you working 9 to 5 and for paying for a house that you're not even in and cars and doing all this stuff and just keeping the system going. There's a lot of evidence, a lot of stuff to support that and everything. But then there's a lot of stuff where I think this whole alien thing where we're coming to find is a lot of evidence to support where that's just a big, huge fucking psyop and a whole part of this thing to get everybody to be acting the way that they are and stuff. And a lot of people are forgetting this. People used to talk about Project Bluebeam and there's going to be this whole alien invasion that the government's going to stage and they're going to get everybody to come together as one and be together in one new world order fucking government and stuff like that to get against the aliens and stuff. And now it seems like a few years later, 5-6 years later, everybody's forgotten about that and everybody's all on board. Aliens, we love aliens. Yeah, the government's talking about aliens. Wait a second, hold on. I thought you guys was all like, yeah, aliens. They're going to make a fake alien thing, but you all hopping on it. When you look at aliens and stuff, it's in mainstream media. If it's in mainstream media as much as it is, it's bullshit. And that's all these people talk about that.
Don't trust the media.
Don't trust the media. Mainstream media is bullshit. You don't want to listen to that stuff until there's something that supports their beliefs and everything. And when they're like, oh, did you see that? The government released the UFO clip and everything like that. It proves everything's real I'm talking about. Really? But anything else the mainstream media says is bullshit, except for when it proves something that you believe in.
That's an excellent point. I love it that you say that because,
people cherry pick these little things to support their beliefs and then they just throw the rest of it away. Anything else that person would have reported on is bullshit except for that one thing. And that's what people don't realize is going on. And that's why we say what we say.
No. And that's why I wanted you guys to come on here because I love that message. That's in sync with a lot of what I, said across some episodes here on this show. Yeah. And I love that point of view. And do you guys think that the fact that you can come on here and say this and that you can have your own podcast and present these ideas and present these critiques. Do you think that this is the beginning of the democratization of this conversation and of the paranormal community? Or do you think, I don't know, what do you think the future of this is? Of you getting to speak, of me, of all of us?
There's a lot of people now that we've realized too and stuff. And we're small right now. It's a small group that's coming out and stuff that are realizing and starting to go like, hey, this is making the whole truth movement. And what happened to the real truth movement? It's turned into truth bullshit. You know what I mean? Because again, like people don't have any new stories, nothing to come up with, so they regurgitate or they make up shit.
Celebrityism.
So too. They can stay on top of the YouTube fucking game or the likes on fucking Facebook and stuff like that. So they got to stay relevant. So they just stop making up wild fanatical stories and everything. So there's a lot of us that are starting to get fed up with that and coming out and speaking up more. So I see that the group more coming out, but we want to do it. We want people to come together. Just stop with your bullshit. Get back to the truth. Because a lot of these people that they used to actually just be trying to show the truth, but I think they got to a point where they're like, oh, wait a minute, that really isn't the truth. And I can't, what am I supposed to do now and stuff? I'll go back. I'll like, we've said a lot of stuff, but like, now I find out it's bullshit. At the time, we were on our plausibility thing. It was really high, but now it's really way down here, really low. So I see it's more because more people are waking up or awakening or becoming aware of all the stuff that's going on, and then you have to awake again because there's a lot of bullshit in that awakening and everything. And so there's kind of a levels to it and stuff. And as people go through that, and then they're going to kind of start the more people call out the bullshit and get together and let's bring the community back to where it should be and focus on real hardcore investigating and researching and not just seeing something on Facebook or Instagram and saying, yep, that's real, and no longer researching what that's saying. You just, yep, let's regurgitate it, repost it, let's tell everybody. No, nope,
supposed to call it out.
Let's look at, let's read it. And I go in, I see post, and I'll go in, I'll call it out. I'll be like, boom, and I'll start posting links on it. I'll be like, here, no links on that. This is garbage. You have to. You got to get out of there.
More than just one side.
If we're going to call out mainstream media for doing that, we have to call ourselves out for doing that.
Fake news.
You got to get rid of the fake.
That's just, yeah, it's got to be done. It's got to be voices. Like I said, you hit me to CW Chanter. There's other people who we listen to, and even you don't have to agree 100% with what those people's. I don't get caught up in anybody's beliefs. That's their truth. It's more stuff that they're speaking about that needs to be talked about. That's all. Just take a look at this stuff. But again, I'll stress: there's no victims. If folks want to believe this stuff, then that's fine. They are not our target audience. These are not the people who we want to have conversations with. You want to believe in the woo, keep going, enjoying the woo-woo. You're not going to find that.
Eventually, they're going to find out and wake up and stuff.
Probably not. Not everybody.
Not everybody, but a lot of them, they eventually will get past that stage and everything.
No, they're just going to get tired of paying their money.
Some of them,
for bullshit. They just think you can't ride that train forever.
And ride it again. Like, that's what we keep going. And as we do more research, we're like, oh, what the fuck? And we're like, oh, what the fuck? And we keep digging and we're like, we just got fed up with the bullshit. We're like, it's bullshit. And that's what a lot of people that are still on the hardcore and they're just, it's happening. We appreciate your show and our shows and CW Chanter and anybody else there that's calling out the bullshit. That's what we got to do.
So as we start to wind down the show, I'd like to know what strain you're smoking and what some of your favorite strains are.
This blend is Master Kush, and then some of the earlier stuff was Purple Master Kush and some Bubba's Dream. And strains like, I can't really say I have a favorite strain or a favorite like indica or this or that anymore because it's just so many and so many different kinds. As long as it's good, organically grown smoke and it gets me high and does the job and takes away pain or whatever I'm using it for at the time, then I like it. I kind of do like more of the hybrid stuff that have a balance of like CBD and the THC stuffs in it. And some of the stuff that I have growing, I just don't have any currently. I have some Pennywise that's growing. That's, got THC, CBD, a nice round of stuff. So you get all the round effect and all the effects of it. So,
Right. Jiggy, what are some of your favorite strains?
Cali weed.
Oh, that's just because that's the same thing in Cali is the same thing everywhere. I mean,
King Louis OG.
That's funny. Yeah, when I lived in California. White Widow.
I love White Widow. One of my best experiences ever on White Widow. But yeah, White Widow, the King Louis OG. The Master Kush. This is this like again, like you said, we smoke so much different shit now. It's because we're in a legal state too, so
Right.
there's no that's what
There's always new stuff coming and going and stuff. So that's just to hang on to one. Like I said, my favorite, I would say that I've been smoking for years now is the Pennywise that I grow. I've been smoking that probably 5 or 6 years now. So, but other than that, it's just we're always new stuff coming and going.
Yeah, I was always a Kush fan, and just the different varieties of Kushes. The heavier the indica, the more I like it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
See, the indica
Cool.
doesn't affect me like it
We're gonna
used
see if
to
she
when
can
I
hang
was
with us,
younger
so.
either. So
You better be prepared
you
to
better
smoke.
be prepared to smoke.
I will.
I don't know if you've been counting and noticed we've smoked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're on our 7th blunt in 1 hour, and those are an average of 1 gram each blunt. So
Wow.
7, we killed a 1/4 ounce in an hour. In our 3-hour show, we usually smoke at least a 1/2 ounce or more.
Wow. Well, we're at the top of our hour. Where can people find you, and what's the best place to find your work? Your Facebook page, your YouTube channel, where is it?
Paranormal Hood Live Radio is the YouTube channel. Facebook, everything else is just Paranormal Hood. The website isn't really, nobody goes to the fucking websites anymore, so it's kind of useless. Social media, like I said, Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime Video, go type in Paranormal Hood. Episode 1 of our show is up there. It's available. It's free if you're a Prime member. I think it's a couple dollars if you want to rent it and see it. Please rate it. Let us know what you think. And just especially if you're a fan of Mysterious Forces and you listen tonight and you go and follow us on social media, please let me know. And I don't follow a million people, but I like to follow some people back. But that's just Paranormal.
There you go.
Yep,
Smoke King, Jiggy, thank you so much for honoring this show with your presence. I've been trying to get you guys on for a while, and finally the planets aligned.
About that too. We don't do a lot of media, so this is the first interview we've done in a long time. Like it's nothing personal, but thank you for allowing us to be ourselves.
Yes,
that's one of the things,
thank
man, to speak the way we speak, to smoke a little weed, and this is what we do. This is who we are. We're not firm. This is who we are every day. So thank you for allowing us to be ourselves too. That was very important to us. That people either have to accept us for who we are. Whatever.
And we can't wait to have you here in the studio.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. Be ready to smoke some weed.
Absolutely.
See before you get here.
Too cool. Thank you so much, guys. I look forward to it so much. That's Jiggy and Smoke King from Paranormal Hood, and they're out of Boston, so check them out. I'm going to be out there in Boston the last week of the month, and I'm going to be on the show, and I don't know, who knows what we're going to get into. We'll get into something, but anyway, thank you for being here. You are important. And please like and please subscribe. And I've always wanted to do this. Please like and please subscribe. Thanks for being here. Thank you for everyone who was in the chat room. And I appreciate it. Have a great Saturday night. Be safe out there. Have fun. And Jimmy, Mika, Sarah. I usually say Jiggy, but he's here. So anyway, thanks everyone. And by the way, I'm obsessed with the fact that my ball is not on a level angle. It's been driving me crazy this whole show. So now you know. Bye.